Then we'll start for today. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Last Tuesday, we covered cash flows for a project and time value of money. And I shared with you the assignment guidelines. I hope you have been thinking of it, thinking of the project you are going to prepare the project proposal. So today I decided to share with you a chapter in a book on project finance, actually capital development, capital projects, financing of capital projects. So in addition to introduction of project finance and cash flows for a project learned last time, you will learn project financials and some criteria for project evaluation today. Okay. And next week on Tuesday 23rd, don't miss the session because we have a guest, Ms. Ishani Palyaguru, Vice President, Project Finance, NDB, and she will speak on important aspects in the project proposal that will help you do your assignment as well. So, and today's presentation and her presentation will help you in the assignment. And on 25th March, that is next Thursday, the Association of Professional Bankers, APB, which I'm a past president, is having the AGM. So I have to attend to that. Because of that, 25th, there won't be in a class, right? So we will meet, I think 30th again. After 23rd, we will meet on 30th. So on 23rd, after Ishani's presentation, we will start second half, net present value and other investment criteria. I think that note also has been shared with you because I thought if there is time, we can start on that. We'll see on the time how it goes. So we start on this presentation, an overview of the evaluation and financing of capital projects. So evaluation and funding of projects, company can be seen as a collection of succession of projects. I think I have told earlier also. I will be repeating some things, and it is good when I repeat that you can you will get it. It will get into your mind. Okay. So if you take an oil company, right, they will acquire lease rights for an area of land, explore for oil, and drill wells, and produce oil from the wells for a number of years. So this can be the only activity of that company, right? So that is a project. Or they can have other projects as well, and it can be one of the many activities that constitute the company. So a company is a combination of several projects. Because we discuss project definition. Project has a definite ending, right? Like a hotel project, after hotel completion, project ends. But after that, the operations start of the hotel. So that is, the project is part of the hotel company. So some companies have several hotels. So that those are different projects becoming the operations of that company. So project is the basic unit of activity of a company. And the projects range from large relative to the company or small relative to the company. So usually company engages in several small projects and few large projects. What are the smaller projects? Replacement of aging equipment, right? Those are smaller projects. You have to replace the equipment. If not, you can't run the operations. And large projects are some construction of a new production facility or building of a high-rise office block. Those are large projects. So the decision-making process for projects in company normally are decentralized, and the evaluation and approval of project will depend on the size of the project. Because a branch can approve up to some limit, like the bank. the banks will have approval limits. So the branch has a limit. I don't know whether now the branches are not having limits because there are credit sales and all those. The people are approving outside the branch, and the branch are only doing the sales. Those days, branch has a limit. Then the regional office has a limit. Then when I was the zonal head, I had a limit. So the branches were very keen when I was the zonal head within my limit to get the loans approved because it is faster. Maybe after that, it goes to credit committee and all those things. It takes some time. So we were trying to get projects approved within my limit. So even projects that was loans, these projects also, there will be some decentralization and different people, different levels have the authority to approve. And project evaluation cannot be done by single person. This is also repeat. It's a multidisciplinary task and it's not sole domain of any of the professions. Like you can't say it's a finance manager's role. It is the role of everyone, right? So the teamwork. So it involves capital budgeting, financial management, and strategic planning. So it is performed by different members, different capabilities, different levels, different hierarchy of members throughout the organization, and who may coming from different professional approaches. Right? They will have different professional approaches. But many companies will standardize the procedure for evaluation of projects. Right? However, this method differ from company to company, right? And there is no best method as such. There can be one company will have a different method, another company has a different method. So there are no best methods to adopt. Then so the funding of large capital projects, either from the internal resources of the company or by raising additional finance from external sources, is corporate finance and investment banking. You might think why I am saying that's corporate finance and investment banking. Because projects towards the end, we will know what is project financing, and it is normally corporate finance and investment banking. I was discussing with Tarindri also now that they do corporate financing, and there are specialized companies who do corporate financing like NDB Investment Bank, Equity, then who is doing this WindForce share issue, that is I think CT Group, and with another investment bank, right? So now WindForce is a corporate finance thing. Why are they raising proceeds? WindForce, why are they raising proceeds? I think it is done by CT Land and not Land, CT and CAL together. They are raising money for two projects, right? They are raising 3.2 billion rupees for one wind plant and one solar plant. So wind plant is 927 million and the solar plant is 1,383 million. Right? So the price now they are doing this. Their existing company WindForce is in renewable energy. Right? So they are going into renewable energy. They are not deviating from their basic activities, and the IRR according to their prospectus is 21%. Right? And the share price they are going public is 16 rupees. So then some people predict that it will become 19 rupees after 1 year, and it has an intrinsic value of 19 rupees. So, but in this share market, we don't know whether it will come below the IPO price when it comes to the market. So those are project financial activities, though it is projects, the corporate finance activities. The aim of this module is to provide an overview of the evaluation, and the evaluation of a project is forecasting the projected financials. So evaluation of project is, other than the other criteria like the management, marketing, in the financial criteria, we look at project financials and evaluating these based on decision criteria. What are the decision criteria? Payback, NPV, those are decision criteria. We will learn more on 23rd. So what are project financials? Project financials assess the merits of a project. And a manager who is assessing the merits of the project must have to find project's ability to consume and produce cash for each year of the project's life. Consume means use cash for mainly for construction, purchasing of equipment, you consume, right? And you produce cash is after the project is over, you with the operations you produce cash. That is, you bring through the operations and sales, you get income. So they have to determine the project's cash flow. Any manager who is evaluating a project must decide on the determine the project's cash flow. The project financial represent the forecast of the project's cash flow for each year of the life of the project. So in project financials, we have the project's cash flow for each year of the life of the project. So component of cash flow are, what are the components of cash flow? I think we learned that as well. Capital expenditure, revenue generated, the costs incurred in generating the revenue, the taxes paid, and the working capital requirements. So there are 5 components of cash flow: capital expenditure, the revenue generated, costs incurred in generating the revenue, the taxes paid, and the working capital requirements. So we have to forecast these values and their timing to calculate the cash flow for each year of the project's life to prepare the project financials. So there are 5 basic inputs we just discussed to the project financials. Now we will discuss each component. Revenue. Revenue is the money that flows to the project because of the project's activities. So we look at an example. Project aims to sell 100,000 items per year at $150 per item. So what is the total revenue? $150,000 per year. So the projected revenue, how do we come? It's based on marketing data, forecast, or contractual agreements. Marketing data, forecast, or contractual agreement. Now we do a marketing study and see what is our market share. What are contractual agreements? How do you get from contractual agreements the sales revenue? There are some projects, mainly the power projects, energy projects, right? You generate and you sell, right? So or maybe garment industry, you take garment industry, they have to given a quota with this amount of items we are buying every year at this price. So that is, and in Maldives, they used to have quota for European tourist agencies. They buy number of rooms in a hotel and that they have to pay for those rooms, right? Even they bring guests or not, they have to pay for that room, right? So that hotel has agreed income, right? Fixed income. Then the costs. Costs are two types. These are operating and overhead costs. So operating costs are that incurred in the direct manufacture of the items. If it is manufacturing thing, operating costs are that is direct incurred in the direct manufacture of items. They include cost of purchasing of raw materials, the energy, and the labor required for manufacturing of the company's products. And these can vary with the amount of production. So because of that, we call them variable cost, operating cost or variable cost. Now, overhead costs or fixed costs are those that are not operating costs. Those are administration and from selling and marketing expenses, those are overhead cost or fixed cost. Overhead costs generally do not vary with the amount of production. Right? If this is the case, they are also referred to as fixed costs. So variable cost and fixed cost when you take the costs. Then the third item, taxes and royalties. What are the taxes? The charges made by the government, like income tax, capital gain tax, those are charged to the company based on the income. The royalties may be charged by the government for use of natural resources, such as the mining or oil production, even hydropower. I don't know, Sri Lanka started. In Uganda, they charge for the water, usage of water. Capital expenditure. So this is another cash item, the sum of money required to develop and install manufacturing facility, that is capital expenditure. And capital expenditure is referred to as even fixed capital, because this working capital is there to distinguish from working capital. The fifth item is working capital, is the amount of money required for stocks, debtors, and creditors. So we use these inputs to calculate the cash flow and the free cash flow. I will explain what is cash flow and free cash flow. So it is used for that purpose. What is cash flow in a year is equal to the revenue. We discussed number one was revenue, less the cost, less taxes and royalties. Right? So cash flow is revenue minus cost minus taxes and royalties. What is free cash flow is cash flow minus capital expenditure and working capital requirement. So the development of the financials for a project, including the calculation of the cash flow and free cash flow, is given in the following example. So we go through this example to see how the cash flow and free cash flow is arrived at. So this project is called Santa Clara Hydroelectric Power Scheme. It is in northern Brazil. So there had been unanticipated increase in demand in the region, right? In this northern Brazil, there had been unanticipated increase in demand for electricity. So the local government is called for bids to produce power from a new hydropower dam, right? New hydropower project to be built on unoccupied state property. So a power supply company has been approached to bid in consortium with two other companies. So there's a power supply company who is in power generation. They have been approached to bid with two other companies. These two companies are consumers of electricity. and wish to secure supply for their own long-term needs. They may not be having one authority like CB. They are having consumers of electricity companies, so they buy from the power generator. So what is the market here? When you get into this consortium, your market is also ensured because you have two consumers of electricity as your partners, shareholders. Right? And in Sri Lanka, if you do a hydropower project, your market is CEB. Right? Now, we saw in the ports, in Colombo port, this East Terminal, why was the Indian party interested in shareholding in East Terminal? And because then they can bring their business, and it's Sri Lanka also going to benefit because the Indian party, they will bring the Indian business to Sri Lanka. Right? And now not East Terminal, now West Terminal, I think it's still not finalized according to the government sources. So the company's project department, right? They have there's this big power company. They have a project department. They have studied this Santa Clara project. So it's called Hydroelectric Power Scheme, HEPS, and they find it will deliver 460 megawatt of power. Big project, 460 megawatt of power, and will sell the electricity at $40 per megawatt hour. And the cost of construction is $481 million. And the cost that this project will be constructed over 7 years. Right? This 481 million will be spent over 7 years. In table 1, they have given like project utilization of 481 million each year. The project will begin to generate electricity in the 5th year. Though the project will complete fully in the 7th year, it will generate when the dam is half built, right? And the 6th and 7th year, the production of electricity increases as shown in table 1. So the 5th and 6th year, they generate, but not at the full capacity. The cost to operate the facility are $4.4 million US, right, per year from the year that electric generation begins. Now you can see, yeah, maybe later the 4.4 million. The state wishes to encourage private investment, like the BOI infrastructure. They have given 0 income tax, so no tax for the life of the project to give an incentive for private investment. So it has cost the company $4 million in management time, engineering cost, and legal fees to date. Those are sunk costs, right? So though they have spent all these things, 4 million, it is sunk cost. It will not go to the project cost. And the question is this a good project for the company, and should the company join the consortium? So we'll have a look at how it is done. So the solution, the 2 questions were, is this a good project for the company? Should the company join the consortium? Before that, we have to, before answering those questions, we have to find out what is cash generation. The project's ability to consume and generate cash, right? Because project cannot just start generating cash. They have to consume first and then generate cash. So we will do the project financials for the project. So table 1, I mentioned earlier, is giving the capital expenditure, that 482 million, how it is spent at the beginning small amount, 10 million, because we discuss projects when they start slowly, and then they pick up during implementation, and then so that's why year 4 and 5 lot of money going for the project, and then towards close of the project, then the project goes slowly and finish it off in year 7, right? So and we were told year 5 they start generation, so they have started 314 megawatt, and year 6 448, and year 7 460. So we will see when in full capacity how much it is generating. So the revenue generated by the project is determined by the units of goods or services sold and the price per unit received. Right? We know if it is manufacturing, number of units of sold, and the price per unit received. So in this case, we are selling electricity by megawatt hours. Right? So the power generated by Santa Clara is expected to be 460 megawatt. So we have to get how many megawatt hours? And the price they are getting for megawatt hour is $40. So if the hydroelectric power plant operates for the entire year without stop, and all the electricity generated is purchased by customers, so they are assuming, I don't think any power station can generate 24/7, right? But this is assumed here. Then the revenue each year for full production is, that is the rate, 40 megawatt per hour into 365 days per year, and 24 hours per day into 460 megawatt. Right? So it is 161.2 million. Right? Okay, 161.2 million. The revenue for the first 10 years of Santa Clara project is shown in table 2. We'll look at the table 2 and count. Right. Here, the table 2, first 4 years, no revenue, right? And from the 5th year, the 161 is starting from 7th year. Here it's less than that, and the cost is 4.4 million. Right? Why the cost so low? Normally, you produce something, cost of goods sold will be high, but in hydropower, the operating costs are very low. I think any renewable energy, if you take solar power, also same, maybe wind power also same, and the operating costs are low, but the capital costs are high. And then this comes from the royalties is 2% of the revenue. Right? So the royalties come, there are no taxes. So cash flow from operations is from revenue deduct costs and taxes and royalties. Right? So you get the cash flow from operations. We'll go up. So the first 10 years given there, and the costs are cost incurred in the production of the product, and this consists of raw materials, labor, utilities, and operating supplies. So, but in Santa Clara, you don't have raw materials. Your raw material is water. The operating cost for Santa Clara is estimated 4.4 million. It's like we can say a fixed cost, not a variable cost, because even generating low power, it is 4.4 million per annum. The operating cost for the first 10 years of the Santa Clara, again in the table 2, we saw operating cost 4.4 million from the year 5 onwards, because year 5 onwards. So if it is a variable cost, it should come down here, these two, year 5 and year 6, but it's like a fixed cost. Taxes and royalties, right? The Santa Clara profits will not be taxed because they have a tax holiday for the lifetime of the project. Right? So normally tax is charged on the taxable income, Right? The income, also called as profit or earnings, is the revenue less expenses and depreciation. So we didn't have used depreciation here. Although income tax is not charged, the royalty is charged by the regional authorities. So it is 2% of the revenue. Right? You can calculate and check whether that from the revenue, the amount stated in the table 2 is 2%. Okay? So it's reflected in taxes and royalties. So then the cash flow. Again, table 1.2, cash flow represents the actual cash consumed or generated by operational activities. Cash flow from operational activities is shown there. So cash generated by the project is the revenue less operating costs, less the taxes and royalty to the regional government for the use of water. So again, cash flow for the first 10 years is shown in table 2. Right. So table 2 shows cash flows from operations. Now capital expenditure. Fixed capital investment for Santa Clara is the amount of money that must be invested in the construction and installation of the entire power scheme. And it was given in table 1. Right? The investment will be in land, purchase, dam and reservoir to be constructed, building the turbines, penstock, and the power lines, access roads. Those will be the capital expenditure. So land has to be purchased from the state. It's all there. Yeah. So table 2 we went through. Right. Now that was the cash flow. Now free cash flow means we said from the cash flow deduct the capital investment. Right. So from the cash flow we arrive here 000 and 103, 148, 153. Right. That is cash flow. Capital investment we are getting from this chart. Capital investment here 10, 75, 78, 114. Right. So 10, 75, 78. So this is the capital investment up to 7 years, and after that 0. Right. Then the free cash flow is from cash flow deduct the capital investment. We get minus 10, minus 74.9 like this, minus up to year 5, and from year 6 onwards it's positive free cash flow. Now working capital, we discussed not only the capital spending we have to deduct working capital as well. Right? So we didn't deduct working capital to arrive at the free cash flow. So the reason, what is the reason we didn't deduct? So working capital for a manufacturing facility is the net amount of money invested in raw materials in stock, finished goods in stock, and money is owed to suppliers, employees, and taxes. And money is owed by customers also. The working capital investment, they are not deducted actually. Money is owed by customers here. Yes, you deduct it. The working capital investment for Santa Clara is negligible. Hydropower project, if you take working capital, negligible, because the power you can't generate and store. Still, there is a lot of research done to see how power can be stored, because the solar power we generate during daytime, but the requirement is, like our country is night time. Our prime usage is in the night time, but developed countries actually during the daytime they use more for their factories, all these things. We in Sri Lanka watch TV, all these things in the night, and our prime time is night time, evening. But that solar power we generate, if we have a easy way of storing at a low cost, then it can be used in the night. So working capital for this is because the power generated you can't store, you sell it to the customers, right? So power cannot be stored, and there is only small delay in the payment for power supplied to bulk customers because bulk consumers. Yeah, you are not supplying to individual household, you are supplying to bulk consumers, so they will pay without delay. That's the assumption, and so on that assumption, it is said there is no working capital. So the free cash flow already we have seen. So cash flow generated by operational activities minus the cash consumed due to investment in fixed and working capital. So that represents net cash value available. And these terms introduced up to now are similar to those found in accountants. A free cash flow is a financial management and corporate finance term rather than an accounting term. The free cash flow generated by the Santa Clara is in the table 3. We just had a look before coming down here. Any questions? So project financials, they represent the forecast of the cash flow and free cash flow for the project over the life of the project. Right? So for the Santa Clara project, the project financials are summarized in table 4. So you have revenue, we have already in the previous tables, cost, taxes and royalties, cash flow, capital expenditure, and the free cash flow. So you have the projected project financials with all this information. So free cash flow is negative for the first 5 years and positive after that. So what does that mean? Up to year 5, project consumes cash. After year 5, project consumes cash. After year 6, project generates cash for the owners. So the owners have to put in cash for the project to consume in the first 5 years. After that, the project generates cash for the owners. So how are we going to evaluate this project based on free cash flow? So evaluation of the project is determining the merits of the project. So in the evaluation, we look at the assessment of the soundness of the business and whether the project is economically favorable. And some of the factors that are important are that there is a strategic fit of the project with the company's current business, that there are opportunities for the products of the project in the market, and the project is economically viable. Here economically means financially viable as well, economically viable or financially viable, and the project is technically feasible. So in the evaluation, we have studied also the project should be technically feasible. If not, you can't generate what is projected. Now, if you take the Windforce example, which I discussed earlier, it is a renewable energy company. So they are going for a IPO to raise money to invest in 1 wind power and 1 solar power projects. Those are again renewable energy. So that is matching their strategic fit. Right? So they have found that there is market now. The investment in infrastructure is, there is a market because there is captive market sometimes. Most of the time, like CEB and other countries, they are investing in some other country as well. There's the authorities will purchase, right? And you have an agreement to sell. Now, an example I have shared with you, which when I was at HNB, I was heading the real estate company, SITMA. After the HNB Towers was completed, HNB Towers is owned by SITMA. And then our managing director wanted to go into apartment projects. Managing director of HNB, who was the chairman of SITMA, went for apartment projects. We completed Spathodia with greatest difficulty and sold it, right? So that, however, I thought there was no strategic fit of a bank subsidiary doing apartment projects. That is not our kettle of fish. Okay? So that after that, I did not go and propose another apartment project, but I proposed another tower in the HNB Tower, you know, Dali Road. HNB Towers has a big car park outside and inside also car park. In the car park to do another 2 towers, because our chairman at that time, Dr. Jayamaha, wanted to have a look. So, but some shareholders didn't like that idea. So because of that, that project didn't come to shareholders of HNB didn't like that idea. Now you take Fairway Group, right? Fairway is in condominium business. They did very well until recently with very good projects and good quality upmarket, and they want to go to a waste to energy project in I think that's called Kharadiana in Burleskamu, Ratmalan area. There is a big waste dump, and we went for the inauguration of the project also, because we also approved a loan with Sampath Bank and DFCC, right? So, but is it their strategic fit? They were in condominium business. They went for this waste to energy. Maybe that was not their strategic fit. That project has not taken off the ground. Bank has not given any facility. There were some approval problems, and then Fairway Group has financial problems, and some of their projects have got stopped because of even the real estate market problems. Real estate market is not doing well, and they were short of cash, and so the projects have stopped, right? So you have to look at, when you do a project, when you do your assignment. Now this company, or you can do a new project as such without thinking of existing company. But if existing company is doing a project, they have to look at the strategic fit. Maybe they can diversify into other areas to reduce the risk, but there should be some strategic fit. So the outcome of the evaluation should be an assessment not only of the intrinsic value of the project proposal, but also suitability of the project within the context of the company. That's what I was explaining up to now, that it should be, the project should be also viable, but it should fit into the company, right? Within the context of the company, right? If not, you can have problems. Now what I explained with Fairway, even HNB, SITMA, it was not fitting in. Now even Bank of Ceylon has a subsidiary which owns the real estate subsidiary, PDL, I think by name, if I can remember. They are listed company, and they have invested in hydropower projects. Right? I saw recently, I think the central bank would have told them to divest those, because that is not related to the banking. Now that's what I was telling. Even Ceylon Development, where I am a director, we want to do a hotel project. The central bank said no projects outside the banking area. So I think central bank is also correct, because if you go outside your area, then you can be in trouble. So economic viability of the project is assessed on its free cash flows. The free cash flow, that is money that the business generates or consumes. Free cash flow we saw in table 4. Table 4 is project financials. Table 3, the free cash flows. This is free cash flow is the money consumed or generated by the project. Right? So first 5 years money is consumed. After that money is generated. So we have to use the free cash flow generated by the center over the first 10 years of operation. Yeah, economic viability of the project is assessed on its free cash flow. So using the free cash flows, we have to find out whether the project is viable or not. Okay. So if it generates money, it has positive free cash flow. If it consumes money, it has negative free cash flow. So the money generated by the business is available to the owners of the business. It can be distributed to the owners as dividends, or it can be reinvested in the business. Last Tuesday, we discussed an example where we saw money generated from the assets, how it is distributed to the shareholders and distributed, reinvested. Okay. So again, if it is paid as dividends or reinvested, it is going to the shareholders. Right? Because why reinvest? To continue better operations, but dividends, to you get a return on your investment. This return will get later the capital appreciation, due to capital appreciation. So if the business consumes money, the free cash flow is negative. So this represents shortfall in cash. Now, if there is negative free cash flow, the managers have to make up the shortfall. Right? They have to get money from the shareholders, or they have to borrow from lenders who provide loans to the company, right? If there are negative free cash flows. So the project financials for the Santa Clara, given in table 4, we just had a look, indicate that the project will consume cash for the first 5 years when the dam and electric scheme are being constructed, right? That's why the free cash flow is negative in these years. After that, it will produce cash. So the owners invest the capital and have to wait for the project to make returns. Now, they have to wait over 5 years. Now they invested over million rupees, dollars, and they have to wait over 5 years to get a return. Now, I was looking at a rooftop solar project because some of my colleagues, when I worked with the associate company of Sunken Group, they wanted to invest, and when I came up with this solar project. But after evaluating the solar project, find you have to wait for 5 years to get cash flow, right? So we thought, all of us were in the 60s range. Two of us thought there is no point investing and waiting for 5 years at this age, right? So we dropped the project. So the people who invest in long-term projects are taking a risk, high risk, because they are expecting after some time, but those are all projections. So owners invest the capital and have to wait for the project to make returns. So there's a risk to owners. So the owners of the business must be rewarded for taking on this risk, right? So they are taking a risk. They should be rewarded for the risk. When you have risk, you have to have a higher return. So the returns must be sufficient for investors to risk their money. So that's why people go and put money in risky finance companies. And those days, Golden Key was paying 30% because that the risk was high, and people put money in Golden Key. Now this weekend, Sunday Times, there were some articles. People who put money in failed finance companies are having a lot of difficulties because they have put their money, they have not got the money back. Even the finance company, Swarnavahini, all these things are they are not getting their money back. But they have taken risk. They would have been paid a higher return as well. The owners of the business must be rewarded for taking the risk, and the return. The return must therefore be sufficient for investors to risk their money. The value of a project depends on the amount. Now, you have to remember all the time. The value of a project depends on the amount, the timing. When are we getting it? We know time value of money. We studied last Tuesday. Amount, timing, and risk of the free cash flows generated by the project. So the value depends on that. We will calculate next time in net present value, the value of a company. Okay. So that depends on the timing, amount, timing, and risk of the free cash flows. So the free cash flows are used to calculate measures of the economic attractiveness of the project. These measures can be used as decision criteria to determine whether a project should be recommended for approval. So there are a number of measures of economic attractiveness, and we are discussing here payback period, the return on investment, and net present value maybe next time. So payback period and the return on investment and the internal rate of return are some measures of economic attractiveness. So one useful way is to determine the cumulative free cash flow. Right? We have done free cash flow. You can cumulate. Now we have for 5 years negative cash flow. You accumulate and then positive cash flow, and you have a study when are we going to break even from negative cash flow to positive cash flow. Right? So it is the sum of free cash flows for all the prior years. The cumulative free cash flow represents the total cash position of the project at that point. We say in the 5th year, cumulative free cash flow will represent cash position of the company at that point. Right? So all typical projects have a negative cash position due to the construction and setup cost at the beginning. So as the project begins to generate and accumulate cash, the cumulative cash position will become from negative to positive. So the time taken for cumulative free cash flow to become zero is known as the payback period. That is what we have invested, we are recovering, the time taken for investment to be recovered is the payback period. So we'll take the tea break and see you at 8:15. Any questions before that? Did you understand? It's very simple things, but I selected this because it's very easily can be explained. So we go to the next page. Any questions for the presentation before the break? Right, we now look at the payback period. Right? We looked at the definition, how payback period is arrived at. So in this example 2, we take the cumulative cash position and the payback period we are going to demonstrate. So the payback period was Santa Clara HEPS project, right? So this example is continuation of the example 1. Determine the cumulative cash position and payback period for the Santa Clara project. Okay. So the solution is, we had free cash flow from table 3, and table 4 is also there. A free cash flow is negative for 4 years, and then positive. Okay. So the cumulative free cash flow is, you add this one, year 0 to year 1, then you get minus 84.9, then minus 84.9 to minus 77.8, like that. You add from the previous year cumulative to the present year cash flow, free cash flow. Then up to year 5, you have negative, because up to the, because since you have higher negative here, even year 5 you have free cash flow positive, you have a negative free cash flow. Even year 6 we have negative free cash flow, and after year 7 only we have positive free cash flow. Right? So what is payback period? From the cash flow change from negative to positive, the period taken. Right? So I have done this graph. So what is in the graph is, first, free cash flow. Each year free cash flow is given. Then, and you can see from year 7, I think, the free cash flow is same, because you have a generation, you have operating cost, you pay royalty, then that won't change, right? And then you have revenue. We have revenue also. There's no revenue up to 4 years or 5 years, and then we have the revenue. You can see from the revenue is very little deduction for the free cash flow, right? Because operating the operating cost of 4 million plus the royalty is the only deduction, right? Then the cumulative free cash flow, you can see from 0 it is increasing up to year 5, and from year 5 you have a positive free cash flow, so it's coming down, and here it is changing from negative to positive. So this is graphically presenting the free cash flow and the number of years. So the cumulative cash position is determined by summing the free cash flows for all the previous years. So this is equivalent to the running total of the free cash flows. The cumulative free cash flow for the Santa Clara operation is given in table 5. Okay. Cumulative free cash flow is in table 5. We have already had a look. Okay. The free cash flows and the cumulative free cash flow for each year are shown in figure 1. Right? This is in the graphically we are showing that cumulative free cash flow and the free cash flow plus the revenue as well. The point at which the cumulative cash position changes from negative to positive, right, represents the time taken for the project to pay back the entire investment in the project, right? So at this point, the project has generated as much cash as it initially consumed. So the payback period represents the length of time the investor in the project must wait to retrieve his or her investment from the project. Right? What is the payback period in this project?
Seven years.
Pardon?
7 years?
7 years, yeah, correct, 7 years. Actually, it's 7 years, but we can say maybe even 6.5 years also, right? Because after end of 6 years, we have minus 76. After end of 7 years, 77. But it is better to say 7 years, but it is around between 6 and 7 years, 6.5 years, right? Now, if you interpolate and take. Thank you very much for that. And right. So the project has generated at the payback period time, but it has consumed. Okay. So the payback period represents the length of time the investor must wait to retrieve his or investment from the project. It is like a break even, right? Because this is a break even for the investor. But he has invested initially, it's breaking even at the payback period level. So payback period of the Santa Clara scheme is 7 years. It's close to 7 years, right? Is this a good opportunity? Is this a good opportunity? And is it good considering that the life of the Santa Clara hydroelectric scheme is expected to be 35 years? Now the life of this the scheme, hydroelectric scheme, is 35 years and the payback period is 7 years. So considering that, is the project good? Okay. So
Yes, it is good.
good. Okay. Yeah. From that point, it is good. Yes. Thank you. Is it worth building the hydroelectric scheme? So we have to look at other areas also. Yeah, if you ask that question, is it worth to build in the hydroelectric scheme? There can be only two answers, right? That is, yes, we should build the hydroelectric scheme, or no, right? So the implicit is the alternative nothing. So if you do or nothing, right? In the absence of any evidence of country, it is assumed that this consequence will not negatively impact on the company's current business and its owners, right? And from the available information, we think doing this project will not negatively impact the current business and its owners, right? So the decision is yes or no. Either the
Yes.
many investment decisions are of this type. Most of the investment decisions are like yes or no, right? But the decisions regarding replacement of equipment are either or. If it is replacement of equipment, is yes or no, because you have to do it. But either or, right? Now you take turbines need replacement because they are end of their lives, right? So this represents either or decision. So what is either or? They are replaced now or they are replaced later, right? When I was in HNB, I was overlooking the engineering premises department as well. So the request for approval comes for replacement of air conditioners in the branches, in the other offices. So what do we look at? You look at how many years that AC has been used. Normally AC can be used for 5 years, but there were ACs used for more than 10 years as well, right? And the date of installation, like the age of the AC, and if there's a repair, what is the repair cost? Can we repair and use it, right? And what is the cost of new one? So the repair cost is very high, and it is better to buy a new air conditioner. Right? So, or you say repair cost is low, we repair now and we'll replace the air conditioner later in the next breakdown. Right? So that's either or, replace now or replace later. So if you take the project, it is a strategic fit with the company's current business. Right? We will discuss this matter, and they are a generation and supply of electricity to consumers, that company. So since since this is also same, this project also generation and supply of electricity to bulk consumers. So, and there is market. Since there are power outages, the market must be undersupplied. So we are assuming because there are outages, market be unsupplied, and the company's strategic planning department confirms that the market is unlikely to be in oversupply by the time the project comes online. Because this project comes online after 5 years, and they have done some studies, there are no projects. Now in Sri Lanka, I think about 7-8 years, we have not done any large projects. So that is, there's a lot of potential for big projects to come in. The merits of the proposal is, so it is strategic fit, so we should do because our business line. The merits of the proposal can therefore judge on economic grounds alone. Right? So now we know it is strategic fit. We have to look at whether economically it is viable. So the benefits that are accrued, expected to accrue, are greater than the cost of the projects. Right? The benefits that are expected to accrue are greater than the cost of the project. In the case of Santa Clara, the costs are associated with capital and operating costs, and the benefits with the revenue generated. So the net benefit is difference between benefits and costs. Right? The free cash flow available from the project. Right? So it's a free cash flow is the net benefit. So the free cash flow, using the free cash flow, there are a number of methods for assessing the overall benefit of a project from the annual benefits, that is from the free cash flow. So one of these is payback period. So we can't get annual benefit, we have to say overall benefit of a project. So one of the ways of assessing a project is payback period. The payback period is amongst the oldest of the criteria for the analysis of the investment decision. Now it has the advantages. Why? It is measuring in units of time, right? And everyone can understand. If you say payback period 3 years, 5 years, and everyone can understand, right? So, but we can't say this is 3 years is good payback period, 5 years is good payback period, or 7 years is good payback period, because it cannot be said, right? So, and the money that is promised in the future, we studied last time, is less valuable than cash that is actually in hand now. So the payback period disadvantage is it does not account for the time value of money. We are actually next time also we'll be learning more about the payback period. For the Santa Clara, the length of the project is much longer, that is 35 years. And based on this, Santa Clara project appears to be a good investment in the long term, right? The payback period is one of the many investment criteria that can assist management and investors in deciding whether the project is good for investment. So another method is return on investment, right? We will go through this also, return on investment. We will be doing it next time as well. The return on investment is measure of the project's ability to generate funds for its investors, right? So the Santa Clara project, the return on investment can be defined as the ratio of the annual income to the investment costs. Ratio of the annual income, that is, we are investing 481.6 million. What is the return we get for that annually? Right? So we take, when the project is operating in full capacity, so 161.2 divided by 481.6 is 33.5% is the return on investment. Right? And this return can be compared, we have to compare with other investment opportunities available, right? But when you see it, we think it is very good, but there can be other investments giving more return. So we have to compare with those investment opportunities. So the project financials, like the cash flow and free cash flow, determined by establishing the free cash flow for each year of the life of the project. So the decision criterion such as payback period are foundations of capital budgeting. The statement of the project financials is, now we have project financials, right? We have said these are project financials. It is not same as the financial statements prepared by accountants, right? Even though some lines are like the revenue in accounts, the financial statements and project financials, but project financials and financial statements are two different things. We learned financial statements, I think 2 days back, 2 classes back, right? So the accounting statement establishes the profit of the company and summarizes the financing of the company. So accounting statement, we found the profit of the company and summarize the financing of the company, like the balance sheet and the profit and loss statement. But the project financials forecast, this is a forecast. Those are actually after the event we are preparing, but project financials are project's ability to generate free cash flow, forecast of project's ability to generate free cash flow. So I don't know whether we have discussed these 3 important principles for the assessment of capital projects are briefly discussed now in the following 3 sections. These principles are: the assessment is based on cash flow rather than on profit, right? We are going to discuss assessment is based on cash flow rather than on profit. The investment decision is assessed independently of the financing of the project, right? So we are not looking at how it is financed, the debt or equity. We are only looking at the investment decision independent of finance. And the project is assessed on future cash flows without regard to the past expenses. Now, in this project, there was an explanation that 4 million spent on project preparation, all these things, but we didn't take anything in the project appraisal, right? Project financials, right? So each item we go through, project profit or earnings is not required for the assessment of the project. Why? We have studied this, I think, we are repeating. Profit is the difference between the revenue and the expenses, including taxes and other items such as depreciation, right? Now, project financials for the Santa Clara did not mention the profit. We didn't calculate the profit. Right? The concept of profit is not relevant to the evaluation of the project. So, project evaluation, concept of project profit is not relevant because the profit includes non-cash items such as depreciation and amortization. So the economic evaluation of the project is based on the cash flow of the project, which represents actual monetary transactions, because there are, like in the accounting, we provide when the transaction is done, even the payment is coming in future, we take into profit calculation. But here we are only represent cash flow of the project, actual cash flow of the project. Then the investment decision precedes the financing decision. Now in the Santa Clara project, we didn't speak of how it is financed. Is there an equity? Is it by loan, right? So those interest charges we didn't take. No interest charges were deducted in the arrival of the cash flows. So these costs were deliberately ignored for the following reasons. There are 2 decisions that need to be made. First decision is this project economically worthwhile? Right? That is the first decision. Second decision is how it is to be funded. Right? So if the project is worthwhile, then we are looking at how it to be funded. So these decisions are separated in order to clarify and simplify the decision-making process. If not, we will have what we are doing when we do project analysis. We take loan interest, and then we do equity, NPV, equity IRR. But this is the best method. The on entity basis you do without considering how it is financed. The project is evaluated with the interest for, if the project is evaluated with the interest for loans included, it is referred to at equity basis. Right? If you take project loan and evaluate its equity basis, but we are doing on entity basis. We recommend on entity basis. Only once it has been determined that it is profitable project and worth pursuing is the source of funding considered. Right? If the project is worth pursuing, we look for the sources of funding. So the separation of the two decisions help us to make the decision-making process more transparent. Right? So it is easy for even someone in the company who is not in the finance department to come up with the project and do the evaluation, because he doesn't have to know how much loan is to be raised and what is the debt equity ratio of the company. Those things are not needed. So in a company, if you're financing a project in a company, all the funding requirements are lumped together and funds are raised for the total requirement, right? Not for the project. There are some companies which will do that way through the treasury. This is referred to as the pooling of funds within the company. In addition, the two decisions, that of the investment decision and that of the finance decision, are functionally separate in most organizations. And I think we discussed that investment decision and financing decision are functionally separate. So separating these roles of each of these different departments is helpful. So thus evaluating the project on the entity basis is not done for theoretical reasons, but for reasons of practical management, because those are separate. I think this part I would have covered earlier. Because I do several programs, sometimes I don't know whether I have covered some areas in the other, but it is good to repeat even, because then you learn by repeating. When you study also, when you try 2-3 times only, you will learn it by heart. So past expenses are excluded from the project financials. In developing the Santa Clara, the company incurred significant costs, mainly for legal fees and engineering studies. Right? So those fees of $4 million were not used in project financials, right? Because that events have no bearing on the economic viability of the opportunity at the present. Because if we try to recover the past expenses, it's like gambling, right? Significant probability that a gambler who tries to recover past losses will lose everything. Then he should not try to recover everything. If he gets something, then he has to quit, right? In an economic analysis, past expenses referred to as sunk costs are irrelevant to the decision now. The evaluation is focused for the future, on the future. Okay. So we look at the risk of the project. How to assess the risk of the project. The forecast of the project financials included no mention of the chance that these forecasts may not be achieved. Now we discussed earlier, we have to look at in the cash flows, the amount, timing, and chances of that happening. Right? But in the assessment of the Santa Clara project, we looked at the amount, the timing, but we didn't look at the chances of that happening. Right? So that's what we are now doing. These projections, we assume that they were known with certainty. We thought these are the projections that they will realize those projections in the future. Right? But actually, there are a large number of uncertainty can influence the outcome. Right? So even though we forecast the project financials are made with best possible information and techniques, they are uncertain. Right? We use all the techniques and information learn about the techniques in future. On the other hand, a project is not risky if the project finances can be predicted with certainty. If the project finances, we can say now in Santa Clara project, all this, the revenue generation cost, if we can predict them with certainty, there is no risk in the project. Understand? You understand that? If you can predict those forecasts with certainty, then there is no risk in the project. But risk is the chance of an undesirable outcome caused by the unpredictability of the future. We don't know what is going to happen in the future. We didn't know even this COVID will come. We didn't know that it will affect our lifestyles, right? Similarly, we don't know in the future what will happen. So the chance of undesirable outcomes can happen. The source of the risk for a project is the variation or change in the values of the constituents of the project finance. So we have project financials, these assumptions of maybe the generating capacity, right? Generation, then the fees paid for the generating megawatt dollars per megawatt hour. Those can change. For example, if the revenue change from year to year in a fashion that is different from its prediction in the project finances, then this is a source of risk. So we have projected the project financials, but the revenue will change. Actually, it is not happening in that way. And one year very high revenue, next year very low revenue. So what we have projected is not happening. So there is source of risk. Some of the risks that are relevant are the business risk, the investment risk, and the financing risk. Right? So there are three risks which are relevant. There are other risks as well: business risk, the investment risk, and the finance risk. So what is the business risk? Business risk is the variability of the revenues and cost of the project is the source of business risk. So variability of the revenues and cost. I was saying revenue we assume for Santa Clara project can change, and the cost we assume 4 million, it can change. So variability of the revenues and cost of the project is the source of business risk. The change or variation in the estimate of the initial capital expenditure to build and install the project is source of investment risk, right? The first one is business risk, that is variability of revenues and cost, and cost of the project, estimate of the project cost changing is investment risk, right? Then the financing risk refers to variation of interest rate, financing of the project, interest rate is financing risk. Together, business risk, investment risk, and finance risk are called financial risk of the project, right? All these three risks are called financial risk of the project. So risk is very important in the assessment of a project for two reasons. First reason is the value of the project may differ from what it was forecast to be. So what is the value of the project? The free cash flows we have forecasted, and if we bring down to net present value, that is the value of the project. So the value of the project will change if the value of the project will change if the forecasted cash flows won't happen, right? So this type of risk represents loss to the owner of the project. So it can be we will not get that free cash flow, so there's loss to the owner of the project. That is a standalone risk of the project. Then the second risk is the project contributes to the risk of the company. The project has a risk, it contributes to the risk of the company and the risk of the investors of the company. So the risk of the project to an investor who has diversified portfolio of investment is referred to as the market risk. So because of one project, there is market risk and there's a market risk. Okay. The topic risk is more complex, right? So risk of one project can influence the risk of another. Now, I was thinking what is, for example, risk of one project can influence the risk of another. Remember in 2017, they were 2017, yeah, 2017, the airport, they were doing runway repairs, so adding a runway or something, and the airport was closed during the night time and it was open during the daytime. So that project would have affected the tourist projects because the tourists cannot come as easily as possible. It happened to us. We were planning to go to Australia, visiting my son to do a tour of Australia. We went to the airport. We were going by the Malaysian Airlines, and the Malaysian Airlines flight didn't come then, right? So in the night also it doesn't come because the airport is closed. It came next day, right? And our arrival in it didn't come next day also. There was another flight. They sent us to I think Malaysia first, then from Malaysia to Korea or something, right? And then from Korea to Melbourne, right? And because of that, we were delayed by 1 day. We have arranged the tour, so the arranged tour 1 day was lost because of that. So there is one risk can affect the other, right? So another project. The topic of risk is more complex than it might appear at first. For example, we know that risk of one project influences the risk of another, right? Risk can be combined or separated. And sometimes when you combine risk, it will be lower than the individual risk, right? That's why people say now you invest in the stock market. If you invest in only one share, then your risks are higher, right? So that's why they say do not keep all your eggs in one basket. So distribute your share investment in different, maybe different industries, like and different companies. So financing of a capital project, there are two major financing issues with large capital projects. How is the project to be financed during construction, and how is the project to be financed permanently after construction? In this lesson, in some countries, I think in Sri Lanka, this doesn't happen. They get the project finance up to construction different way, and after the project is completed, for permanent financing, they go for other funding. Like you can do a project on a turnkey basis. When you turnkey basis means that you will pay the project maybe end of the completion when they hand over. So after that, you go for a permanent financing of debt and equity. So this doesn't affect our way of financing very much, but so I will skip that area. But when you are financing with your own funds, there is no difference between construction finance and the permanent finance because the owner funds all requirements. So either way, once the project has been constructed, the permanent financing can be arranged on the basis of general standing of the owner. So that is not needed. We'll skip. So I think we'll skip this also. And we come to this. An alternative form of permanent financing project is to secure the finance against anticipated cash flows of the project. Right? We finance projects based on anticipated cash flows. Now we take this Santa Clara project also can be financed based on anticipated cash flows. When we finance hydropower project, we take the project as security. But what is there if the project fails? Can you sell the dam across a small dam across the stream? Can you sell the generators which are in the powerhouse? No. The risk we have taken is that for a practice we go and take them as security, but the risk we have taken on the cash flows. So this means that the lenders are not relying on the company's past performance in assessing the loan, and they are not looking at the company's assets as collateral. Right? So instead, they are looking at the profitability or cash flows of the project and its ability to repay the debt. Right? That is, so the project is separated legally and financially from the original owner. I think we discussed this. When you do a project in a project company, the owners are separate and the project is separate. They are two different legal persons. And the finance is structured through the needs of the project. So this form of finance is called project finance. So understand, project finance is going by the cash flow based financing, not based on collateral or owner's strength. It is cash flow based financing is called the project finance. So it is used in large infrastructure and industrial projects in both private and public sectors. Right? Summaries, revision of the study. So we'll revise next time if we have time. And any questions? So now you understand the free cash flows. What is project finance? Where you look at cash flows, and based on cash flows only you are financing, not based on the security or the owner's strength. For owner's strength, you have to look at their management and they can bring the equity, all those things you have to look at. But we are not looking at other assets. We are looking at only the project and project cash flows. So next time, don't get late because you have an important presenter, and she has over 20 years of banking experience and has been heading the project finance of NDB for some time. And you can learn from her experience, and you can learn that you can get information to do your assignment. Anyone has questions regarding the assignment? Right. I think we are on the dot 9 o'clock, and some of you must be hungry, some of you must be sleepy, right? So we'll stop today and we'll meet again on 23rd at 7 p.m. See you and have a good weekend.